So what social changes are preteens undergoing? Preteens have a strong desire to belong to a peer group. And it's just something that drives them internally. And it's just because they're in the preteen years. So let's talk about this. See, what happens is their friends become a high priority. And their identity gets wrapped up in their peer group. And when preteens were younger, when they were under 10 years old, their identity was mostly wrapped up in their family and close friends. But as they progress in the preteen years, the identity begins to shift from the family and close friends to their peer group. And this is when usually parents freak out! Freak out! Dun, 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 dun. Freak out! You like my singing? Neither does my wife. Okay, anyway, so parents freak out because they see this shift beginning to happen and they don't know what to do or how to handle it. First of all, know as a preteen leader that it's normal and it's actually very healthy. It's just a part of the process of eventually becoming an independent human being with friends. So now the thing is though, the danger in it, and one of the reasons parents and us leaders freak out is because they're very vulnerable to negative peer pressure. Because if their identity is wrapped up in their friends, then if they're around the wrong friends, then whatever the friends are doing and that peer group is doing, which a lot of times can be bad, then they're more likely to go along with it because it's really an identity issue, okay? So that can be a bad thing, and we all have seen that be bad in our times as leaders. Now there's a lot of different peer groups that are out there. You got your school group, you got maybe your sports group, maybe your peer group is around music, art, whatever it is. Those are all different kind of groups that preteens have access to. But the amazing thing and the awesome thing and the thing that I just get so excited about is the church can offer something unique. It can offer a peer group that cannot be offered anywhere else on the planet, okay? Including Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all those things, which all of those things are good. What can the church offer? The church can offer biblical community, which I would define as doing life together with God in the picture. And yes, I did get that tagline from Willow Creek, but it is the essence of community from a biblical perspective, where you're doing life together with a group of people. But it's not just hanging out, eating pizza, playing video games, drinking Coke, right? It's God being the center of those relationships. Now that is an awesome thing, and the church is the entity that God designed and ordained for that to happen in. And having a preteen ministry with this kind of community happening is magical because preteens are at the age where the identity is beginning to shift to their peer group. So we can offer them something amazing that can be life-changing. You know what? As I think about this and as I reflect on the many years of me being in preteen ministry, I wish I had that as a preteen. Don't you? Maybe you did, which is awesome. So here's 3 things that a preteen ministry can provide in this whole community aspect area. Number 1 is a positive peer group. A positive peer group. Instead of being negatively influenced to do bad things, you can create this entity, this group, this living community, this living organism that actually influences preteens to do good, to love other people, to serve people, to honor God in their actions, in their attitudes, in their behaviors. Wow, that's awesome. So a positive peer group, which can actually be positive peer pressure. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next session. So number 2 is a positive peer identity. So if there's this peer identity that's happening, why not have that identity wrapped around God? Wrapped around God. And then God becomes their identity. So that preteens, yeah, they have this identity that they're getting from this peer group, but because God is the center there, then they begin to understand their identity in Jesus, their identity in Christ, and that He's the one that ultimately is feeding who they are as a person and giving them the feeling of importance. Okay, so positive peer group, positive peer identity, and then number 3, a cause tied to the peer group. See, what we want to do is create a preteen ministry that has a cause. Yeah, it's about community, it's about friends, it's about all these things, but there's a cause behind it. So maybe your preteen ministry goes out and does an outreach and helps to fund an orphanage in Africa. Or maybe you have a day where you go and serve your community. You know, the idea of Christians in action is important, and a preteen ministry needs to have a cause backed behind it. And of course, the cause is, as well is to love God in everything and to love other people. So what an amazing thing. Look, I think about all the activities that my kids are in, and they have a cause. My son's on a football team. The cause is to play football. A very great thing. Baseball and everything else that's out there, right? But I mean, having a cause of the church to go and change the world, that's awesome. Totally rocks. Okay, so there you go. Doing life together with God in the picture. We're going to dive into this whole community aspect and how to actually create that in your preteen ministry in the next session.